The largest and most outrageous disaster in the history of mankind was on our soil. And the people who did it and the people who covered it up have got to be held accountable.
Okay. That's why I want to get your story out. As I went back through the 9/11 stuff, a few things just keep standing out to me that make no sense. You have large groups of architects willing to put their career, their income, their lives on the line, saying this building could not have been brought down the way that it did. You've got videos now surfacing of police officers, firefighters, witnesses saying, we heard explosions, we heard bombs. None of it makes sense. And yet within the commission's own report, it claims that a jet fuel firebomb after the airplane hit went down 208 feet in an elevator shaft, melting all of the metal, weakening the structure, and that's what brought the buildings down. Do you buy that for a minute?
Well, excuse my language, but that's pure bullshit. I'm a firefighter. I was a fire chief, a deputy fire chief on the largest fire in America 50 years ago, the collision of two tankers in my hometown. I wrote a book about it, and I testified before Congress, the House Energy Committee, as a 20-something-year-old fire chief on maritime fire safety. 28 people were killed in that disaster. For 18 years, I worked for the largest insurance company in North America, the INA. My job was to train their technical people that inspected buildings that we insured. High-rise buildings, complex buildings. Now, I'm not an architect, I'm not an engineer, but I know something about building fires. I know a lot about what happened there because I was at ground zero the day after the attack occurred. And I had been through the buildings with Ray Downey when the 93 attack occurred. The biggest story, and you're right, 3,000 architects and engineers who all have careers, have risked their professions by coming out publicly and saying, the story of the 9/11 Commission is a joke. They got NIST to issue a report. And I supported NIST when I was in Congress. NIST is the National Institute for Standards and Technology. But NIST and other agencies will do whatever the government wants. I'll give you two stories. And this is one that every one of your viewers needs to watch. It's a film produced by firefighters. It's called Calling Out Bravo 7. They can get it for free. If they contact you or me, I'll send it to them. I've sent out thousands of copies. They can go online for Firefighters for Truth. In that film, toward the end, they analyze the buildings, just as you point out, and they're better at this than me. But in the end, they give the case of the battalion fire chief of New York, who was in tip-top physical condition, Oreo Palmer, a father of 3 kids, normal, hardworking firefighter. He was a very proud man. He responded on the first due company into the World Trade Center tower. Took his crew with the air pack on their backs, their full gear, carrying hose, 40 pounds of equipment. They got in an elevator of one of the towers. Contrary to what the 9/11 Commission would have you believe, they went up 40 floors. They get off at the 40th floor, and you can hear Oreo Palmer's words. When you watch the film, you'll hear him say, we're on the 40th floor. And it's okay. We're going up. They start going up in the stair tower, the 45th floor, the 50th floor. And you hear Oreo say, we're on the 50th floor. It's okay. We're going up. 60th floor, 65th floor, in the stair tower. It's okay. We're going up. Battalion Chief Oreo Palmer reaches the 78th floor, the floor where the planes hit. And he comes out of the stair tower with his crew. And he said, we're here. We're on the floor of impact. We've got 2 fires. And we can handle them. That's not me saying that. That's not some fake Hollywood star saying that. That's Battalion Chief Oreo Palmer in the middle of the worst disaster in America, standing outside the stair tower in the building on the 78th floor where the plane hit, saying in his own professional judgment, we can handle this. And the building collapses. It's a massive lie. It's a massive lie and an arrogant slap in the face of every firefighter and every person that died at 9/11. There's none of that in the 9/11 Commission report. Not one piece of that. Second, the 9/11 Commission wouldn't allow me to testify before the commission. Now, I was a firefighter all my life, a fire chief, a state fire instructor. I spent 18 years working for an insurance company, and I was the vice chairman of both Armed Services and Homeland Security. You would think they would say, Congressman Weldon, would you please testify? They didn't want me to testify because I had been at the Trade Center Tower in 93, and I was there at 01 as the guest of the fire department of New York at Ground Zero. When the report was finally issued for members, I went over to the Cannon building when the commission was giving it out. I stood up to be the first questioner. And I said to Lee Hamilton and Tom Kane, both good men, I don't fault them for this. This is not them. It's the people that did the staff work, that did the cover-up. And I said, Lee and Tom, you know my background. You know my commitment to firefighters. You know I was up there in 93 and 01. Why wouldn't you call me to testify? And Lee Hamilton said, well, you know, Curt, we had a lot of people that wanted to testify. I said, really? The staffers did not want me to testify. The same way they didn't want Tony Shaffer to publish his book after they had tried to ruin his life. And Tony had met Zelikow as he brought 9/11 staffers through Kabul, asking if any military had encountered anything to do with the attack at 9/11. Tony Shaffer volunteered to meet with him. They exchanged business cards in Kabul. And Zelikow said to Tony, we need to meet when you get back to America. When Tony returned to the States, after serving as a spy, Bronze Star recipient in Afghanistan, his offices were locked. All his files were secured. Tony's security clearances were removed. And they went after him. They made up some ridiculous, stupid charges. I did a 1-hour special order. Anybody in America can Google on the House of Representatives website, and you can pull up the special order I did, or I'll give it to you online. 1 hour. And I said, this is the biggest scandal in the history of America. Defense Intelligence Agency should be tried for criminal activity against Tony Shaffer because he was telling the truth. Tony then went to work in the reserves. And a few years later decided to write his book called Dark Heart. So as is protocol when you're a spy, you have to ask your superiors to approve your book. So he went to his commanding officer and he said, I want to write my memoir. Will you review it for me and make sure it's okay? He said, sure. They reviewed Tony's book. Said, okay, publish it, Tony. Tony's publisher starts publishing it. And then the deep state finds out. Those who don't want the truth out. They issue a cease and desist order to the publisher. Stop publishing the book. It's too late. The book's already in production. So our government, now listen carefully, people, our government used taxpayer money and they bought all 10,000 copies of the first edition of Tony Shaffer's book to destroy them.